What's up everybody? Welcome back to my channel, the best place for youth and parents to learn more about education and soft skills. Now something happened recently that was pretty interesting. My wife and I were talking to our daughters and just doing the regular checking in and how are you doing at school, you getting along with friends and so on. So we were having this conversation and one of my daughters decided to tell us what was happening recently at school. Now, what happened was she decided to buy some of her friends some marshmallows, and this was several months ago. She bought the marshmallows for about $2 a pop, right? And it's pretty cheap, and she told her friends, don't worry about the money, just take it, right? Some decided to give her money back, but most of them were just like, oh thanks, I owe you something, right? And so recently, this group of friends got into a kind of an argument with one of the other guys in the classroom. Now, my daughter's friends are all girls, and they hang out a lot, and so the guy that they were arguing with decided to sow some discord within that group. He said to my daughter and her friends, you know what, you guys are just using her. And he raised the occasion where they all got free marshmallows off of her and she got nothing back. And so everyone pretty much took it in stride, but upon further conversation with my daughter, her eyes started swelling up and she started crying, and we were like, oh, what's going on, right? And she's like, you know, Dad, I don't know if it's real or not. Like, are my friends using me? So apparently what this guy said really bothered her, and she didn't really want to tell it to her friends because it's like, you know, you're not gonna walk up to your friend and say, hey, are you using me? Like, you're not gonna say that. So what my daughter decided to do was, you know, just keep it inside of her. And if we didn't ask her about this, it wouldn't have come up, right? Because this problem really is a problem that applies to all people, right? Whether you're a youth or an adult, you constantly have to navigate complex social relationships. So we sat down and I talked to my daughter, and today I want to share with you guys what we talked about. First thing I told her was, you know what, Cadence, you're using me and I use you. And she was like, oh, what do you mean? And I'm like, okay, so for example, you use me every day to drive you to school, to take care of you, so I go out and work and I make money and you leech off of me. You get free clothes, you get free shelter, you get free heat, free lighting, and blah blah blah, right? And so you get all this stuff from me, so you're basically using me. And she's like, huh. And then I told her, but you know what, I'm also using you. I'm using you for your hugs, for your love, for your kisses, for your affection, for your support of me, for me coming home and saying, Dad, welcome home. What's interesting is that I told her that she's using me, and not only for the present, but also for the future, right? So I told her when I'm 70 or 80, when I'm old and I can't drive anymore, I'll need to use her to drive me to places, to take care of me, to see the doctor, to whatever, right? To get me groceries, who knows? But essentially what I told her was, you know, I'm using her and she's using me. And it's this type of relationship. Another way to frame it is we are a community, and we are a community in terms of a family, right? Where I take care of her and she'll take care of me, and there's reciprocity, and we take care of, basically everyone takes care of each other. And so I told her, you can use this same logic for your friends. Her group of friends is interesting because, you know, they all have their identity. They're still at that point where they're saying you're the smart one, you're the athlete, you're the defender, you're the blah blah blah, right? So they have different labels for one another. They're still at that phase. And so they're basically telling each other that they have different parts and different functions within their community of friends. And so I told her, there's really two ways to look at it. One way is that you're using one another, and the other way is that's just how friends are, you know. And so I gave her an example. So that marshmallow case, right? So if you buy a $2 marshmallow for your friend, and then your friend decides to buy you a $5 hamburger back, and then they tell you, you know what, you bought me a $2 marshmallow, I buy you a $5 burger, so in the future you owe me a $3 taco or something like that, right? So it's pretty much the mentality of there's reciprocity in relationships and friendships, but you can't always just give or take, and you can't calculate to the dime. And so I was explaining this to my daughter, and she's like, oh, okay, so like So are these guys my friends or not? And so I told her, hey, why don't you reflect on whether your friends do stuff for you? And she took a moment and she paused and she's like, yeah, my friends do stuff for me too. And so her friend tells her, you know what, if you don't put on lip balm every day of the week for the rest of the week, I'm not gonna invite you to my birthday party, right? And so my daughter is like, yeah, that's kind of mean, but you know, she's doing this for me, right? And she's doing this as a friend, and this is her way of expressing affection. So when I tell her to think about it this way, it really helps her put things in perspective. Not everything is calculated by money, which brings me to my next point, which is it really depends on the agenda of the other person that you're with in terms of evaluating whether they're friends or not, right? Some people, for example, if they have a lot of money and money's not really an issue for them, they might want to spend more time with you because you offer something of value to them, such as company, such as time, such as emotional support, or such as some other value that can't really be measured in terms of money. And so I explained this to my daughter and explained to her the whole idea of a community of friends really does depend on what role each person plays within that community. And of course, you can't always give and you can't always take, right? If you give too much, then you basically become just sacrificing all the time. If you're taking all the time, that's also bad because everyone will get sick of you and you're not contributing to the community. So I told her, while you can't calculate everything down to the dime, you gotta really also be mindful of how you balance things. Which brings me to my next point is, are they really your friends? So Wharton's Adam Grant came up with a book called Give and Take, which discusses the science behind friendships and reciprocity and giving and taking and so on. And one of the things that he outlined there that I find to be really good is that, you know, enemies are predictable, right? You know they're not out to help you. Friends are good because you know they're on your side. Acquaintances that are emotionally neutral are just kind of like, whatever. There's not really good or bad to them. But the worst type of relationships to be in is that with frenemies. And frenemies, of course, is a wordplay combining friends and enemies. And what frenemies does is that because of the unpredictability of these relationships, it causes a lot of stress and eventually becomes pretty toxic for a person. And so what I told my daughter was, you really need to evaluate whether these friends of yours are real friends, right? And if they're using you, if they're unpredictable, if they're friends on one day and they're not friends on another day. And so essentially, if you feel used by somebody, this is what you have to figure out. Whether these people are your friends, whether they're your enemies, whether they're your frenemies. And if you find a situation where the relationship is getting toxic, where the reciprocity isn't really there, where they're using you and they're not really giving you a lot of value, then it's time to evaluate whether these people are your friends or not. One of the problems with the idea of frenemies is how do you even know whether this person is a frenemy or not, right? And so a very easy way to do that is to talk to that person directly and communicate with them, right? Figure out, hey, if this person is your friend and you tell them, hey, I don't like how you treat me this way, then they should be able to reciprocate, right? And tell you why they treat you this way, or what was the reason behind it. Maybe there was some misunderstanding and so on. But if you tell them that and they don't really respond and they continue doing what they do, that person's probably a frenemy, and that's probably a situation you want to get out of. And so I was glad I had the opportunity to sit down with her and have this heart-to-heart conversation and really educate her about whether friends use each other or what does it even mean to be a friend. And so if you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe, and don't forget to share and leave a comment below about your thoughts. Take care.